The next thing we need to do is change the number that's in the negative 11 position into a 0. And so we're going to use the row directly above. The basic rule of thumb is that if you want to change something in the second column where the negative 11 is, you need to make use of the second row. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use the second row by multiplying that row by 11, and we're going to multiply the bottom row by a 3. And that'll give you a 33 on top of a negative 33. And so the top row, negative 6, negative 3, 9, and 0 stays the same. Change the second row into the product of that row times 11. And the bottom row is that row times the product of 3. Entirely possible that's not right. Let's change that too. Now that you've got a 33 and a negative 33, one on top of the other, you can go ahead and add those two rows together, and you're going to put your answer on that bottom row because that's where you want the 0 to appear. I added some space in here because I did not use my time very wisely. Not my time, my space. I didn't use my space wisely. I'm also not using my time very wisely these days, but that's another discussion. All right, so the first two rows will not change. And the bottom row, remember, is going to get replaced with the sum of the second row and the third row. That gives you the 0 where you need it at. How's that look? You are technically done. You're done enough, let's just say. It's good enough. Because now that I've got my zeros in this bottom triangle location, once you've got your zeros there, you can pretty much stop with these row operations and change each row into its corresponding equation. So don't forget the order of your variables. The first column came from x, the second column y, the third column z. Here's your equal sign and then your constants. So I'm using that same setup now when I write my equations. Negative 6x minus 3y plus 9z is equal to 0. Followed by 33y, because the x is gone, minus 22z is equal to negative 77. And then on that third line, I just have z. Negative 13z is equal to negative 35. And this is great now because you can take the third line of your system and solve for z just by dividing by negative 13. So we get z is equal to negative, well, actually, it's going to be positive 35 over 13. The next line, right above, I can substitute my value for z back up in there. And before you do that, I'm going to take everything on that. I lost my bracket. I'm going to take everything on that second equation, though, and divide by 11. That's a common factor, just to make my numbers a little bit smaller. So you'll end up getting 3y minus 2z is equal to negative 7. And now is when you plug in that value of z right there and work it out, get your y value. So let's see what we got. Negative 7, move that over, and then divide by 3 and make it a fraction. So if you work it out, I do believe you're going to get y is equal to negative 7 over 13. And then those two numbers are going to get substituted into that top equation. But before I do that, let's divide everything by, let's go with divide by negative 3, just to make as many positive terms as possible. Okay, so that's going to leave you with 2x plus y minus 3z equals 0. So the values of y and z get plugged back in. So 2x minus 7/13 minus 3 times 35/13 equals 0. And solve that equation for x. As a fraction, your answer is going to be x equals 56 over 13. Yeah, and so that gives you the solution to your system, 3 equations with 3 unknowns.